share screen. Okay. Oops. Okay, let's see. Screen. Pause. Okay. Okay. So tonight we're going to look at chapter 4, and I just want to highlight some important parts of chapter 4. You all know how your chapters flow by now, but I would just like to stress some areas that I think are important to us. Your screen share is paused. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, let's see. Can everyone see the screen? Hold on one second. Why does it say share screen? Okay, share. Okay, hopefully we are screen sharing now. So let's take a look at chapter 4, and I'll try to quickly go over what I think is important for this unit and for your upcoming chapter test. I do have a study guide posted, and so that's where you should be focusing your energies for your test. I don't make up these test questions. Sometimes the questions are maybe not the best designed, but hopefully you're getting more used to how connect tests. So let's take a look. Okay. So this particular chapter module has to do with the family. So let's move right along here and see what we need to know. Okay, so let's take a look at comunicación. So you should be able to ask people about what they do for a living, okay? And there's examples here of some questions. You've done it on your Connect homework, but just make sure you go through this. ¿A qué te dedicas? Literally, what do you dedicate yourself to? That's how you would ask somebody, what do you do for a living, okay? And of course, you could ask in the usted form, ¿a qué se dedica usted? Okay, pretty easy stuff. And so on your chapter 4 test, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to either ask some questions, ask somebody what they do for a living, or be asked such a question. And there will be some situations where you'll be, again, in a conversational setting where you may want to have to give your name, or someone will ask you what your name is. You should be able to respond to that. This is just old recycled vocabulary from earlier in the year. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo. ¿A qué te dedicas? Yo me dedico a, or you could answer that back. If someone asks you, ¿a qué te dedicas? You would answer back, I am, and then you should be able to talk about the various professions. For example, and when you answer back to a question like that, you would answer back, I am a professor, or I am a doctor, or they give you various professions. I am a student. Notice when you give your profession, you use the verb to be, and you would use ser, of course, because ser is the verb we use when we're talking about identity or permanency. So I am a doctor is kind of your identity, or I am a professor. And usually a profession like that is a permanent thing too. So you would always answer back with ser. So just be familiar with that. Okay, let me see. Let's see if there's anything else here to look at. All right, and again, in the communication section, they're just basically here they're using the verb ser, and people are talking about themselves. They are saying where they're from, okay? And again, we use ser when we give origin, okay? Yo soy de Greenville. I am from Greenville. And yo soy chofer. I'm a chauffeur or a driver. So take a look at the different professions, see how they're used with ser, and look at some of the questions there. Okay, let's see. And again, you might want to look over this conversational language because again, on your chapter 4 test, you're going to be in a conversational setting where people will be introducing themselves, asking names, giving names, maybe talking about their age. Remember, we always give age with the verb tener. Okay, let's move on. The next thing, this particular chapter, chapter 4, the theme of this chapter is the family, la familia. So look at this question here. ¿Cómo es la familia de Camila? What does that question mean? ¿Cómo es la familia? We already learned this. It is asking, what is Camila's family like? Okay, so describe their family. ¿Cómo es la familia de Camila? Now, how do we say Camila's family? How do we express relationship? We express it with the preposition de. So there is no apostrophe S in Spanish. Again, this is stuff that's very basic that we've already learned or gone over. So how would we say Camila's family? We would say la familia de Camila, the family of Camila. And we're going to use the same preposition to express relationships to people within our family. So you should be able to, in this unit, you're going to be given on your test, and I'm sorry about this, this is moving a little quicker than I wanted. You're going to be given a family tree. You should be able to read a family tree and then explain the relationships amongst the people in the family tree. Okay, so here we have at the top of the tree where it's given generationally. We have Carmen, la abuela, the grandmother, and Ricardo, el abuelo. And then the two of them are married, and then which is shown with the interlocked rings, and then they have children. They have 3 children, Maria, Aurelia, and Jaime. So you should be able to read a family tree. Now notice it says it's giving Carmen as la abuela and Ricardo as el abuelo. There's their children, and then their children are married in turn, and they have children. So you should be able to follow a family tree like this and answer very basic, simple questions on it. And let's move on. And So in this particular family tree, they show relationship, again, using the preposition de. So let's take a look at this. El padre de Camila se llama Antonio. So what does that mean? El padre de Camila. It means, in English, we would say Camila's father. There is no preposition. There's no apostrophe S in English, in Spanish. So the way that we show relationship is with that preposition de. So what this actually says literally is the father, el padre de Camila, the father of Camila. And that's how we express all these relationships. Go through this. What would be Camila's aunt? You can't say Camila tia, and many of you will do this. I don't know why. Probably because we do it in English, and some of you won't take the time to go through this. The way we say Camila's aunt in Spanish is not Camila tia. It would be, again, la tia de Camila. So please get used to this when talking about family members. It'll make the test a whole lot easier. And that's the way Spanish is spoken and is expressed in writing as well. That's the way we communicate relationships. We use the preposition de. Let's move on here. Let's see if there's anything else of major importance. So let me see. Okay. Okay, well, your book presents things sometimes in a way that is a little scattered for me, and it makes me a little scattered. But we looked at comunicación and what you should be able to do, and I've tried to point out the important things there. Now, chapter 4 deals with the family. So there's your vocabulario. And so the vocabulario that you need to know the terms for the family members. How do you say mother? How do you say father, sister, brother? How do you say children? How do you say siblings? How do you say aunt, uncle, cousin? Okay, so please look at those terms. By now you should know them. Okay, by now you should know them. You've had plenty of time to work with this, but make sure you know how to say father, mother, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandmother. How do you say great grandmother? Okay, bisabuela. Please look through these terms. And they're given in your book here. There's some extra family terms like godchild and godparents. Not so important, but you might want to familiarize yourself with those terms as well. But so make sure you look at this section and you know the family relationships. You know those terms. There's about 20 of them. Familiarize yourself with them, okay? And then let's move on here. Okay. So, and let me see. So for example, when you're working with the family terms and you're given a family tree, and they might ask you, who is Tom? And let's say Tom is Mary's son-in-law. How would you say Tom is Mary's son-in-law? Well, first of all, you got to know the term for son-in-law, okay? It's yerno, all right? All right. Now, how would you say Mary's son-in-law? Do you say Mary yerno? No, you say el yerno de Mary. All right. So now we want to say Tom is Mary's son-in-law. So we would say Tom es el yerno de Mary. Again, go through these. Make sure you can do this. Let's look at some of the questions here. For example, they'll give a family tree, and here's a question: ¿Quiénes son los padres de Camila? We have to understand this. By now, you should know that ¿quiénes means who. Son is the verb ser, right? When we talk about family members, we're going to use the verb ser, who is, who are. So, ¿quiénes son? Who are? What does los padres mean? It means parents, okay? And so, los padres de Camila, who are Camila's parents? You should be able to answer that by going up to the tree, the family tree, and just reading it right off the tree. Look at the next one. ¿Cuántos cuñados tiene Aurelia? So cuántos is a question word. We should know that by now. Cuántos, quantity, how much, how many. How many cuñados? What are cuñados? Brothers and sisters-in-law. Okay, so how many brothers and sisters-in-law tiene Aurelia? Does Aurelia have? Again, go up to the family tree, count how many in-laws you see, how many brothers and sisters-in-law. Let's look at 3. ¿Cómo se llaman los hijos de Jaime y Gustavo? Okay, so ¿cómo se llaman? What is the name of? Okay, what is los hijos? The children. It literally means the sons and daughters, but we could make that now to mean children. ¿Cómo se llaman los hijos? What are the names of the children? Okay, of whom? Of Jaime and Gustavo. So what are Jaime and Gustavo's children's names is the way we would bring that into English. Let's look at the next question. ¿Cómo se llaman las dos sobrinas de Aurelia? Okay, so what is a sobrina? You should know this. Okay, it ends in an A. It's a feminine term. It's niece. So it's asking you, what are the names? ¿Cómo se llaman? Literally, how do they call themselves? What are the names of the 2 nieces of Aurelia? What are the names of Aurelia's nieces? Aurelia's nieces is sobrinas de Aurelia. Okay. ¿Cuántos años tiene la suegra de Antonio? So we have to know what a suegra is. So a suegra is what? It's a mother-in-law. You should know that by now. So what does la suegra de Antonio mean? It means Antonio's mother-in-law. So you go up to the family tree and you can read that off. So ¿cuántos años tiene la suegra de Antonio? How old is Antonio's mother-in-law? And so again, you can go up here. Here's Antonio, okay, and then Antonio's married to Maria. So who's his mother-in-law? Would be the mother of Maria. Who's Maria's mother? And mother is Carmen. That's his suegra. That's Antonio's suegra. Ella tiene 72 años. She's 72 years old. Okay, so you're going to have to do a few of these. So you need to know what abuela means, what yerno means, what hijos means, and you need to be able to express relationships with de. Okay, I think we're good with this part of the unit. Let's move on. Let's see here. Okay, so now let's get into the estructura or grammar. There's 4 grammar sections. Every chapter has 4, right? And so we first have the chapter number 4, and then there's different sections, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4. So let's look at the first grammar section, estructura. And what does it deal with? And again, excuse me here, I'm moving around a little faster than I want to. Okay. So we're going to deal with comparatives. Comparatives, okay? So how do we compare compare things using adjectives, okay? So we're going to be using adjectives to compare things or people. Generally, we're going to be comparing people. So we'll say Mary is older than Bob. Okay, Aaron is shorter than Greg. We're comparing people using adjectives, okay? So how do we do this? And that's what the point of this exercise is. So let's take a look. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to use, and again, you can go through the study guide, but look also at the examples they give you in the book. So when we go to compare people, we in English we would say, let's take the adjective tall. We want to do a comparison between two people. So we could say Mary is taller than Bob, or we could say in English, Mary is more tall than Bob. Okay, generally we would say taller, but you could say as she's more tall. In Spanish, we would say more tall. So when we want to do a comparison where somebody is more extreme, we use the word más, and it has an accent over it. So, and then in English, we would say more tall than, and in Spanish, likewise, we would say más, then we take our adjective, whatever it is, alta, and then we have the word than, which is que. So you're going to be using más, adjective, and que. So let's take a look at an example here. Here we want to say that Jose is taller than Antonio. So we're going to use the verb ser, of course, it's a permanent condition. So Jose es más alto que Antonio. You should be able to do this, okay? So we use más and que with the adjective. In this case, we're comparing height. Jose is taller than Antonio. Now, we use adjectives to make comparisons. For some reason, many of you are very reluctant to internalize this. I've pointed it out in my videos. I've put it in my study guides. Adjectives have to agree in gender and number with the people that they describe or the things they describe. So you got to look at the gender and number, and you have to tweak your adjective accordingly. We don't do this in English, I know, but we do it in Spanish, and many of you lose points because of this. You even use the correct adjective, but you use it incorrectly. You don't tweak it to the gender and number of the situation. So let's take a look here. Jose is taller than Antonio. The word for tall is alto. All right. And so Jose es más alto. We use the masculine singular form. Jose is masculine and singular. So this is why we use Jose es más alto que Antonio. All right. What if I wanted to say that Jose is, or that Mary is taller than Antonio? Then it would be different. And you should see immediately what you would change. So let's just pretend it says Mary is taller. So Mary es más alta que Antonio. I had to change alto to alta because Mary is feminine. And many of you forget to do this. Let's take a look at the next one. Mónica y Julia. We're talking about Mónica and Julia, and we're using the adjective delgado. Okay, so we have two people here now, and they're females. I've got the adjective delgado, so I've got to get the feminine plural form of it. So I change the O to A, and I add on an S. Now I can make my comparison because I'm going to compare Monica and Julia to Jose, and they are skinnier or thinner than Jose. So Mónica y Julia son más delgadas. Now, many of you would put son más delgado or delgada. Wrong. Son más delgadas. They're plural and feminine. Que Jose. So make sure that you can do this. We also have the situation, and we have the same in English, where we can compare two things where one or something is less than the other. So we can use menos, and we saw menos with time, minus, las 5 menos 10, 10 to 5. But menos here means less than, okay? So now we can use menos and que, which means than, and with an adjective. So let's take a look. Antonio es menos alto que Jose. Okay. Antonio is less tall than Jose. Okay. So this works just like más. But the implication is, of course, just the opposite. Let's look at this one. María es más. Now we're going to, the adjective here of comparison is rico, to be rich. Now, María is a feminine, so María es más rica que Celia. Okay. Es más rica que Celia. Or now, if María is richer than Celia, Celia is less rich than Maria. So that's what they want us to do here. So Celia es menos rica que Maria. Okay. Let's do another one. Juan es más alto que Marisela. So Juan is taller, es más alto, is more tall than Marisela. Okay, everything looks good here. It's alto because Juan is masculine. Now we want to say Marisela is less tall than Juan. Marisela es menos alta que Juan. Okay, so we have to use alta. So make sure you look through these and make sure you know these irregular comparison words. Okay, so their forms, their adjective form is irregular, and the same in English. So we have the adjective bueno, good, and bad is malo. So how do I do the comparative form? Better and worse. So mejor is the word for better. So mi hermano es mejor jugador de fútbol. So my brother is a better player, is a better soccer player que yo, than I am. And then worse, el lunes es peor que el martes. Monday is worse, es peor que el martes. So we, the way we say worse in Spanish is peor. So again, if I want to say my brother is a better player, I don't say más bueno. Nope. I say mejor. Mi hermano es mejor, is better. That's the comparative form of good. And we have the same thing in English. We say good, better. It's a completely different word, the same in Spanish. We have bueno and then mejor. And for poor, we have worse. It's the comparative form worse is a completely different word. The same thing in Spanish. We have malo, bad, and peor is worse. So take a look at that and please get used to them. They'll be on your exam. And finally, there's two more irregular comparatives they want you to know, and they have to do with age. Okay, so mayor means older. So viejo means old. If you want to say older, you would say mayor. Okay, and then menor means younger. So young is joven, but younger is menor. All right, so just look at this and get used to it. Let's take a look. Arturo es mayor que su hermana. And again, we're going to use that word que. It means than, just like in English. So Arturo es mayor que su hermana. Arturo is older than his sister. Yo soy menor que tú. Now we're going to use menor, younger. I am younger than you. Yo soy menor que tú. So take a look at that section and be familiar with it. Let's move on. Okay. Let me see if we have anything else. Please take a look at this section on la planificación familiar in Guatemala. And make sure you just take a look at that reading, make sure that you're familiar with it, and that you can do the set of problems beneath it. You'll be using más que and menos que, all right? Peor, menor, mayor. Make sure you're familiar with that, okay? It'll make your time doing the exam a whole lot easier. All right. Okay, now we're going to go to 4.2. And what we're going to look at now are the stem changing verbs. We already learned stem changing verbs in the last chapter, where we know that all verbs, all stem changing verbs have two stems. They have the original stem where we drop the AR, ER, and IR. We all know how to get the original stem. That's how we conjugate verbs. But stem changers then take the original stem and modify it one more time. And you've got to be able to know that modification. It's simple. There's just a few that we're learning. The last lesson, we learned the verbs where the O of the stem goes to UE. In this lesson, we're going to have verbs that have an E in the stem that goes to I, and there's only like 3 of these or 4. Please learn them. And then there's another group of stem changers where the E of the stem, and there's a lot more of these, where the E of the stem goes to IE. Please familiarize yourself with these verbs, know what they mean, and be able to conjugate them. Okay, and so let's take a look here. One of the most important ones here is the verb decir. Okay, decir. So the first stem is des, D-E-C, right? We just dropped the IR ending. And then the new stem, the E goes to I, the new stem is dis. So make sure you can form these stems and then you can conjugate the verbs. And I have a video posted on how to do this. And here's the verb decir, to say or tell. You should all know what it means and be able to use it. And I will just add one thing here. The yo form is irregular. On top of it being a stem changer, the yo form, digo, is irregular. Okay, let's see. Here are some more E to I verbs, servir, pedir. And again, I have a video up on this that you can go through. All right, and let's take a look here. What else do we need to know? Okay, so the next section is of grammar, estructura 4.3. Are the verbs where the E of the stem goes to IE. Again, familiarize yourselves with these verbs and please be prepared to conjugate them and know what they mean. Okay, there's not that many. Querer, a very important verb. That QU is pronounced like a hard C or K. Querer, you should know that verb. It's to want. All right. Make sure you can conjugate this verb. Let's take a look at it. So the first stem is quer, and the second stem is quier. So we always have a stem change in the yo form. So yo quiero. We always have a stem change in the tu form. Tu quieres. We always have a stem change in the ella form. Él quiere. Ella quiere. We never have a stem change in the nosotros form or vosotros. So nosotros queremos. And finally, we always have a stem change in the ellos and ellas form. Ellos quieren. You should be able to do these. The endings are your regular endings that we learned when we learned how to conjugate regular verbs. So I think this stuff is pretty straightforward. And make sure you're familiar with these verbs. Empezar means to begin, pensar to think. And you should be good, do fine on your upcoming exam. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay. And then what I did want to point out, you will be tested on the difference between ser and estar, and it's a lot more complicated than what they give you here, but they give you some very basic rules here. And take a look also at your study guide for this. So when do we use ser and when do we use estar? For our purposes, we use ser for origin. And we have our question, which we learned way back at the beginning of the semester. Where are you from? De donde eres? I use ser for origin. De donde eres? And then you would answer me back where you're from. I'm from Greenville. Yo soy de Greenville. I use ser. I never use estar. I use ser. Very simple. Okay, we also use ser for identity. So I might ask you, ¿Cómo te llamas? And you could answer me back, Yo soy Greg, or Yo soy Mary. Okay, so for giving your name, for giving your identity. You might use it as well for profession. Okay, yo soy profesor. Okay, ¿Quién es usted? Who are you? You're going to again, I asked the question with ser, you answer back with ser. All right. Somebody might ask you, point to something and say, KS. Well, what does KS mean? It means, what is it? Okay. We have no word for it, no subject pronoun. We just we use the third person conjugation. So KS, what is it? And then you would answer back, say it's a pencil. You would say, es un lápiz. It's a pencil. So you're identifying something. You use ser. Now, when do we use estar? And for our purposes for this chapter, we're going to be using estar for location. And it's really location of something you can touch, okay, of a tangible item. So it's going to be used for the location of most things and people. So I might ask you, ¿Dónde estás? All right, not ¿Dónde eres? I would never ask that. I could ask you, ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? But ¿Dónde estás? I'm asking you what? Where are you? Now I have to use estar because it's location, and you're going to have to answer back with estar. So say you're at home. I ask you, ¿Dónde estás? You would say, yo estoy en casa. I'm at home. You wouldn't say, yo soy en casa. All right. I might ask, where are they? Maybe the students are in class. ¿Dónde están los estudiantes? Notice how I asked it with a star. And you want to tell me, you want to answer me back, they are in class. Ellos están en clase. You'd never answer back, ellos son en clase. So just be aware of this, okay? We also can use estar with transitory emotional states, like I am happy, I am sad, yo estoy happy, yo estoy contento, yo estoy feliz, or I am sad, yo estoy triste. We would use estar for those transitory emotional states. But more for chapter 4, what they're going to be looking for is a location. That's where you're going to be using estar. So just make sure, be aware when you're taking your test what they're asking. Okay, and you should be you should do well, and your homework is great preparation as well. So with that, I will say a good evening, and I wish you all the best on your upcoming exam.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
When do
Yeah.
we sign up for the speaking meeting?
Oh, I'll have to look at it because this is a totally new course for me, and um, is the sign up sheet there?
I haven't seen one, no.
Okay, no, but thank you for asking. Yeah, I have to get working on this. This is a totally new course. It's the first time we've ever used this book, and so I thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. I'll let you know. I'll probably work on that tomorrow. I don't have my papers right in front of me. When do I have you as doing the speaking assignment?
So it says we have to sign up for it by the 16th of March.
Okay.
And then it says that we schedule like appointments or something like.
Yeah. Okay.
Schedule time.
Yeah, I mean, again, I didn't set this up. So I'm getting used to it myself.
Okay, that's okay.
But that's why I appreciate you contacting me. I knew that was an upcoming. I didn't realize that had been printed there like that. So I will definitely get something out tomorrow. If I don't, send me a bunch of emails to remind me, but I should take care of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
I think that's it.
You're fine with everything else pretty much?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think everything, I myself am getting a little bit more used to this book and this format. But okay. Then thanks a lot, Esperanza.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, take care.